Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alisé. Thank you so much for joining me. And today's video is going to be about Neptune stationing direct. So it's stationing direct at 24 degrees as I'm making this video on December 6th, 2023. So where is Pisces 24 degrees in your chart? Because this is where Neptune is stationing direct. This is the aspect of life where Neptune is stationing direct. Neptune is making some interesting aspects to different points that I want to talk about here that I think can be helpful in really utilizing Neptune's station effectively. So as Neptune is stationing direct, it's in a quincunx with the South Node in Libra. And this is really potent, I believe, because this is really about our relationships, how we relate to anything and everything in the outside world. So people, places, things. This connection that Neptune is making with the South Node is really important because remember, the nodes are actually where we're individually and collectively assessing how we're relating emotionally to these specific aspects of our own consciousness. So Aries, Libra. And remember, when the nodes are in a specific axis in consciousness, or two signs, right? This is really important because it's actually seeding new chapters that will play out for the next 19 years. And so it is important when planets are aspecting the nodes at any time, and it gives us the opportunity to actually evolve the way in which we're relating to these particular aspects of our own consciousness. So Neptune, as it's stationing, making this aspect, a quincunx aspect to Libra, is really important. And it's really important also because Neptune takes 164 years to move through the sky and complete a cycle. And so that means Neptune will only be in its own sign of Pisces every 164 years. So it is special that we get to experience Neptune in its own sign. It's been there since April of 2011. So you can think back to how your relationship with yourself and with others in relationship to your own spiritual experience, your own spirit, right? And what you see as divine, like how has that been really changing since Neptune's ingress into its own sign? Because Pisces is always in a quincunx to Libra itself. So anytime we have planets moving through Pisces, it is going to be forming quincunx to Libra consciousness. So this is always assessing our Piscean consciousness with this, how we're relating with the outside world. Now, what is Pisces just in general? Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, or the last sign in the wheel of consciousness, as I like to call it. And it's actually contains all the signs. It's the ocean of consciousness. It is where all things, all possibilities exist. All ideas, all perceptions, all thoughts, all beliefs, all cultures, all societies, everything exists in Pisces. And it's also where things complete. So we complete things in our Piscean consciousness because we've actually assessed all the different angles of the looking. That's how I like to call it. Like Aries is a specific angle of looking at something. Taurus is a specific angle of looking something, right? These are all just angles of one consciousness. And we see them as separate, we see them as different, but they are all interacting as one. And so when we come into Pisces, we've experienced everything from Aries to Pisces. And so this is where we contain all the archetypes, all the different angles of looking. We've actually assessed them and digested them and actually come into a completion with them to complete something so that we can emerge new into something new, to learn new things, to experience new things. And so Pisces is where things complete and we can get the result of things. We can actually have the results of we've experienced our dreams come true. And we can also find where maybe our dreams didn't come true, right? Maybe things were actually, we didn't embody the things that we were desiring, or the reflections that we were getting back, which would be Libra, right? We're not actually the ideal. Now, Pisces is our ideals. It's our relationship to the divine, to the source of all things. We could call that God, goddess, or, whatever name you name that source of all things, right? The creator, the ultimate creator. And, this is our part of our consciousness that recognizes that we can become whatever it is that we desire. And actually, we're designed to become what it is that we desire and to have the life that we desire. But where Libra comes in is it reflects back to us, well, how well have we been utilizing Pisces opposite sign, Virgo, that discernment piece, where we've actually taken responsibility for the garden of consciousness, our own garden of consciousness, and we've actually discerned what is in service to that which we desire to grow in our lives and in our own consciousness, and what is not in service to that, right? And so when we use that discernment effectively, then we will yield and wield the discernment piece in our relationships. Our yang Venus. So Venus rules Taurus and Libra. Taurus is the yin form of Venus, where we've gone to assess internally, yin, our values and what is valuable, what is resourcing us and our own evolutionary purpose. And then with Venus as it rules Libra, this is the yang form of Venus, where we can recognize, is this relationship, person, place, or thing, is this resourcing me? Is it valuable for me? Is it valuing what I value? Is it valuing me as a resource, right? And then are there adjustments that need to be made, where maybe there's things that we need to, relationships that we need to allow to dissolve, right? Or maybe relationships that may need some adjustments to continue to get the results, the fruition that we're desiring, the dream life we're desiring, right? The completion, the result that we're desiring, Pisces. So one of the things we want to be careful of with Pisces is that because it has to do with our ideals and our dreams, our dream reality, we have to recognize where it is that we must take responsibility for those things and actually utilize that Virgo and discernment to implement the boundaries necessary to actually grow the quality of consciousness we desire, to experience the things we desire to experience the quality of relationships that we desire to experience. But when we don't take responsibility, this is when we can escape. We can have escapism tendencies, or we can claim ourselves, knowingly or unknowingly, as a victim. And so rather than, or noticing when we actually are playing the victim, we can recognize that we're actually not taking responsibility for sourcing ourselves and being the source, our own spiritual source, and actually tending the garden of consciousness, our own garden, our own reality, with actually taking responsibility for being the ideal, not projecting the ideal, and making sure that we're not demonizing what is unhealthy, or where we're not really taking responsibility, but we're projecting blame, shame, and guilt out there, rather than recognizing that the reflections are always going to give us the opportunity to implement boundaries if necessary, to notice how we're tending our own garden of consciousness. Are we becoming the ideal? Are the actions we're taking actually really tending the garden of consciousness and the quality of consciousness we desire? So when we actually take responsibility, we become our own hero. So we don't project that the hero is out there, people, places, things, but it's actually within. This is Pisces, Virgo. So this is important because Aries is very much about being the hero of our own dream, of our own lives. It is an initiation into a new cycle. And remember that Neptune will go into Aries in 2025. And so we only have so much time right now with Neptune and Pisces in the last few degrees of Pisces to be really dissolving these ideas of being the victim or escapism. That is actually not contributing to the quality of relationships we desire to have. And that would be people, places, things, any kind of, we relate to anything and everything in the outside world. So whatever is being reflected back to us, what is not ideal? And if it isn't ideal, then how are we acting in that aspect of our consciousness? How are we relating to ourselves first in that aspect of our lives? And this is where we can really harness our power and actually become the hero of our own life, and not project or minimize projections of heroes out there or the villain out there or demonizing others out there, but more actually taking responsibility for our own dream, our own quality of consciousness, in our own garden in consciousness, in service to the collective unconscious. Now remember that Pisces is where we could have osmosed these ideas, perceptions, beliefs from the culture we grew up in, from the society we grew up in, from the family we grew up in, from the collective unconscious or the collective stories we've been hearing, seeing, experiencing. Pisces is the collective unconscious. This contains all ideas, perceptions, thoughts, beliefs, looking from every angle. And so which angle really serves you in actually becoming the hero of your own dream, your own life, taking responsibility and the power you have to actually create the reality you desire. So this is an important piece. Now, one of the things I also think is so important, I've been really excited about making this video because of it, is Neptune has been square the galactic center. Now, I'm going to read some dates out to you, and then I'm going to explain this to you, okay? So, Neptune went retrograde on June 30th of 2023. So you can kind of look at what was going on in your life. And when it was retrograde, since it's been retrograde, we've been really looking at, what is the dream? What is our dream? What is really of essence in our own lives? And then, how do we want to actually embody that? How is it that we're going to bring forth our dream and our visions in our lives, right? What it is that we envision, for ourselves. Now, June 30th, it went retrograde, and it went retrograde at 27 degrees. Now, the galactic center is at 26, 27, 28 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, remember that Pisces is ruled with a dual rulership. So Neptune rules Pisces and Jupiter rules Pisces. And so think about that, how Pisces and Jupiter's rulership of that is actually recognizing that Pisces contains all ideas, thoughts, perceptions, and then which form beliefs, different cultures, different ways of being, different, even art and expression, right? So this is where we recognize that really the truth is all, it contains all truths. So it's really about what truths support your reality and your consciousness, what resonates with you, right? Now, the galactic center is interesting. It being in Sagittarius, it's then brings our attention to Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And this is about personal beliefs that we form based on the ideas, perceptions, the research, the connecting to different information from Gemini, right? So we all personally go out there and connect to different people, places, things, so that we can learn more, expand our consciousness, and then we form beliefs about that. And that's Jupiter as it rules Sagittarius. Now, the galactic center being in that area of the sky, I really believe this has to do with the archetypal stories that our galaxy is experiencing, and our consciousness is naturally attuned to, right? So these specific archetypes and our personal relationship to those archetypes, and then how that contributes to the collective unconscious, the collective story, right? The collective dream. And so Neptune squaring the galactic center is really potent, because this gives us the opportunity to dissolve the way in which we've related to these stories, dissolve the ideas and the beliefs that we have about these specific archetypal stories, so that we can create new stories, because new stories emerge out of a new way in which we look at them, a new way in which we relate to them personally. So this is really about how we relate to these stories. And so this can be being dissolved, which is super potent. This is really gives us the opportunity to actually dissolve parts of our dream that we are not really content with, that doesn't really support our expansion in consciousness. And then bring in the new dream, the new way, the new discoveries of these archetypes and these new stories that can emerge from them. So I'm going to read you some dates. As I said, June 30th, 2023, Neptune went retrograde. Now, on May 11th of 2023, so about a month and a half before it went retrograde, it had reached that 27th degree in Pisces. So it was squaring the galactic center for like a month and a half, and then it went retrograde. Then today, December 6th, it goes direct at 24 degrees. Now it's going to reach 27 degrees on March 8th of 2024. And it'll stay on that 27th degree all the way until April 3rd of 2024. Now, just be aware that the eclipses happen on March 25th and April 8th. So Neptune reaching that degree at 27 degrees, squaring the nodes right before the eclipses start, is really potent, because this gives us the opportunity to, again, continue to dissolve the collective stories that really are not resonant for us. And these eclipses then can assist us to go, well, how do I want to relate to myself? These archetypes within my own self, because we all have them. And then how, when I change how I relate to myself, we can use the archetypes of the hero, the archetypes of the victim, the archetypes of the villain or the demon, right? Or the healer. We could use all those archetypes, for example, because we've been talking about them. And how am I relating to myself, right? So as I'm actually acting on my own behalf, this actually eliminates victimhood or villains, or these unhealthy players in our lives, right? So this can be, when we've seen these quote unquote unhealthy players like narcissism or narcissist, these labels that we have, or the empath, right? This is where we can recognize that when we see this, instead of demonizing or villainizing or creating victim, or even just like, or even, projecting that other is the hero or the ideal, but actually that it is a reflection of our own potential, as well as how we can act on our own behalf in order to implement the quality and engage the quality of relating that we're desiring with ourselves first, and then with others, which then is going to create new reflections in our lives. Libra. We become the hero, Aries, because we're acting upon our own consciousness, our own behalf, from our own source, rather than the source is being projected out there. That the source is coming from out there, because the source is actually from within. And, this doesn't mean that there are not narcissists out there, or they're not, what would be these archetypes of the villain, for example, and it would be experienced as that. However, when there's those reflections, how we can, instead of projecting that it's out there, but actually really recognizing that it gives us the opportunity to act on our own behalf and our own consciousness, taking responsibility for ourselves, our own ideas, our own thoughts, our own perceptions, and our own beliefs that support our personal reality, tending our garden of consciousness, utilizing that Virgo discernment, right? So minimizing the projections, because remember that Libra is where we can project. We've been projecting our consciousness since Aries, right? This is Aries and Mars. Projection of consciousness, Mars. What is that? Action. We project our consciousness through our action. And then with Libra, we receive back. And what are we receiving back? We get the information we receive back in order to make any adjustments in order to get to our ideal, Pisces, right? So this is where we want to be really looking at what's happening with this Neptune as its quincunx Libra nodes. Now remember also, Eris is conjunct the North Node in Aries. And remember that she is very much about exposing, she's the disruptor, right? She exposes the goddess of discord. She exposes what is actually more geared towards an agenda or an image or fake relating, right? So that's super powerful as well. It's kind of indirectly aspected because Neptune is making that aspect to the South Node. And, we could even see her as an archetype that most people would be like, ooh, she just brings discord, right? But actually, like, it's how you look at her, right? I mean, I love Eris because she is about exposing what is not authentic relating, right? What is not actually genuine within the self. And so the more that we take responsibility for our own ways in which we relate, first and foremost, from internally, from our own consciousness, then the more that we're actually going to have a right relationship, where we're going to minimize the projections out there. And remembering that we all project. It's a natural occurrence. We can't help but project our own consciousness. But remembering that this is this dream is reflecting that consciousness so that we can know ourselves more deeply and empower ourselves to bring our ideals into reality, to be in service to the collective unconscious and collective consciousness, but also, of course, to our own evolutionary purpose and momentum. So now I want you to know that it will go, so Neptune will go retrograde again July 2nd of 2024 at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, the last degree in Pisces. And it retrogrades back to 27 degrees, squaring that galactic center again on October 11th of 2024. Then it will go direct at 27 degrees. And that'll be exactly square that galactic center again. That's December 7th of 2024. And then it reaches 0 degrees Aries, March 31st of 2025. So we've got some time between now and March 31st of 2025 to really be looking at how we can take responsibility for our own dream, how we can act upon the relationship we have with ourselves first as a source of consciousness itself, through ourselves first, so that we can actually receive the quality of relationships we desire, but also the quality of life that we desire. So I hope this has been helpful. I'll continue to talk about it. This is really just a piece of it all, because I'm going to continue to talk about it. And I'm sure more things will come out as I continue with these videos as Neptune stations retrograde and direct between now and 2025. But this is really important because Neptune is at the last few degrees of Pisces. And so being that it is aspecting the nodes, this is really helpful. Remember, Pluto's still squaring the nodes. So this is also about really noticing the pressure in our lives, going, oh, the pressure is actually for me to harness taking responsibility for my own reality, my own consciousness, how I'm structuring my consciousness from the inside out. What are the outer reflections showing me? What is it where, what do I need to actually act upon so that I actually have the reflections in my life, the relationships to all people, places, things that I am actually really going for? How is it that I can become the hero of my own dream, the hero of my own story, and actually act on behalf of the quality of consciousness I desire, not projecting out there the responsibility, but actually taking responsibility ourselves. So I hope this is helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. If you find this helpful, please do like, comment, share. It is always appreciated. If you feel inclined, do subscribe to my channel. More videos are coming, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.